Have you ever looked at your credit card statement and been shocked by the interest rate? Did you know you could actually roll all of your credit card debt into one monthly payment at a lower fixed interest rate? Lightstream offers credit card consolidation loans from 5.89% APR with auto pay. Lower the average credit card interest rate of over 18% APR. Get a loan from $5,000 to $100,000, and you can even get your funds as soon as the day you apply. Lightstream believes that people with good credit deserve a great interest rate and no fees. Fun fact, Lightstream plants a tree with every loan they fund. My listeners will get a special discount on top of Lightstream's already low rates. The only way to get this discount is to go to lightstream.com/Smith. Lightstream, lightstream.com/Smith. Subject to credit approval. Rate includes 0.50% auto pay discount. Terms and conditions apply, and offers are subject to change without notice. So visit lightstream.com/Smith for more information. Listen up, people. We have a big favor to ask you, and we promise it won't take up too much of your time. You know, our show is supported by some fantastic sponsors, right? Well, we'd love to hear your feedback. Head to podcast.study and fill out a short anonymous survey. That's it. We swear. Again, that's podcast.study.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A.
Wednesday edition, Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News, 1-888-729-3776. Priorities in order today on the program. Matt, Barrie, and Adnan Virk in for Stephen A. is going to join us at about 1:10. And when a player doesn't like a contract, they hold out, right? Well, Straight Talk Wireless, you never have to because there is no contract, and they use the exact same 4G LTE towers as the big carriers, but for a lot less. Straight Talk Wireless, only at Walmart. Refer to terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com. So much to get into in today's program. The Le'Veon Bell saga continues. Adnan Virk has had a change of heart in his Serena opinion. Big college football weekend.
Oh.
Now, look.
Big weekend just right now. Me and Matt Barrie get to hang out. You can't forget the sports stuff. We've never done radio together. Now we're together.
Where were you?
Just knocking out the Cinephile podcast. Latest episode with Tom Berenger. You know him and love him. So great in Platoon, Major League.
Yeah, big fan.
He's got a new movie called American Dresser. So he was on Levitard first. He was on Cinephile next. So it'll be on the podcast dropping later today or tomorrow. Great guy.
So you guys pick off guests from other shows.
No, that's one way of looking at it, but we were approached by his team, and then I was informed today that he was going to be on Levitard as well. So they probably just run the whole cattle call and say, all right, let's bang these guys out.
If we're in here promoting podcasts, Maddie and the Caddy this week.
And Maddie and the Caddy.
Brian Bumgarner.
Okay, okay. So, Maddie and the Caddy, very good.
Brian Bumgarner, big golfer.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
This is the problem that I always find that for golf people. Like my fear for you is this. Everyone knows Matt Barrie golf, loves golf, Mr. Golf, you and Eve's golf. Like, how good a golfer are you? In other sports, for example, baseball tonight, okay, fine, I don't care how good a baseball player Virk is, like whatever, college football, whatever. But I find, for some reason with golf, when someone says they're a golf guy, immediately becomes, well, how well do you shoot? Correct.
What's your handicap?
Right.
My answer is always my handicap is golf.
Right.
What does it matter? I mean, I play a lot.
So how good a golfer are you?
I am average.
Okay.
I'm average.
So that's fine.
I'm going to birdie and par some holes. I'm going to bogey some holes. I'm going to go par 4 straight holes and then double bogey 2 straight holes.
But you know there are people here who would say, listen, I should be doing more golf stuff. Like, Barry's, I play the guy. He's kind of average.
Right. Oh, I get that.
But then when makes zero sense.
Right, but then
I don't have to hit a curveball to talk baseball.
But when I see those people on TV or radio, I'm like, well, they're kind of average. So in the area that works, when we're getting down to it,
right,
you might be able to outdrive me.
Sure.
You might be a single handicap. Right. But you double bogey when you're on TV and radio. So, isn't that what counts?
Right. And that's the biggest thing with being on television and radio. When someone says, oh, that guy sucks, I say, well, listen, hang on a second. Sucks means like Albert Brooks broadcast news, like you're sweating, like you're mumbling. like that is a poor performance on air. If you just don't like our jokes or our sense of humor, or our opinions, that's not sucks. That's just you just don't like it.
But if you can't read or talk,
that's an issue.
Then we have to go back to the drawing board.
If you're giving misinformation all the time, if you are giving lackadaisical and incorrect information, that sucks.
This is going to be a fun 2 hours.
This is going to be a blast.
We've got Stephen A. Stephen A. can't do the show today, but he's going to join us here in just a minute. Matt Barrie, Adnan Virk in for Stephen A. today. Le'Veon Bell continues to be the saga.
Yeah.
But when we send out this email of things that we want to talk about going into the show, and there was a whole list of things, right?
Yeah.
But the one thing that piqued my interest that you sent is you said that you have now changed your opinion on Serena. I didn't know what your opinion was before.
So let's break it down for you. And please jump in with your thoughts on this as well as we go through this play-by-play.
All right.
So Saturday, you're locked into college football as much as I am. I'm there in studio, and we got a little break because the Serena match was on. So I, of course, run home for a little bit, check in with the family, etc. And when I turn on the TV just to see how the match was going, because if it's 2 sets, I'm going to hurry back to the studio quicker.
Right.
Because we got to do the Phil, 6:30, 7 o'clock. We had Clemson, Texas A&M. I literally saw the meltdown. I literally saw when she screamed at the judges. I'm going, that is like abhorrent behavior. Like, what are we doing here? Like, this has happened before.
Right.
2009, I'm going to shove the effing ball down your effing throat. I'm like, here goes Serena again. It's brutal. And so when I went back to work and I had to do the update, as you know, the halftime cut, which means you're promoting halftime, they just mentioned the Serena stuff. And I know a little bit now, right? Tangentially, listen to the radio. Well, no, actually, no. On the drive back to radio, I'm listening to college football. I was listening to the Georgia-South Carolina game. I go back into work. I'm telling Jesse Palmer, see, Serena stuff is brutal. Like, what are you doing? You can't do that stuff. So on the air, I said, and also Serena loses her mind and then loses the match.
I saw that. It was your tease to the halftime. And you know, my immediate response was,
right.
Ooh.
Right.
And he's going to get killed.
I got killed by these tweets. And I'm like, everyone in America wants to be fired. I'm like, wait, I don't understand. She did lose. She had a meltdown.
It wasn't factually incorrect.
Thank you. And then I doubled down on the highlight because I said, because our producer, Mike Diesenoff, goes, well, we don't want to show it, but we want to sell SportsCenter, which is a real TV thing to do.
Yeah.
So I got to get a little sizzle here, Maddie. So I said Serena Williams loses to Osaka, and taking away from Osaka's triumph is the fact Serena Williams berated the umpire, furious, lost her cool, big mouth, and you've got to see it, and you've got to hear what she said about it later tonight on SportsCenter.
Still have no problem with it. Still factual.
So I'm thinking the next day, and I'm talking to them, they're going, yeah, but you can't take away a game. Okay, let me actually watch the entire sequence. So thankfully, I watched it literally as each infraction happened. I said, okay, here's what I did not realize, Maddie. The judge was a little quick. Okay? Like, he was quick with the decision making. I said, okay, I thought it was just that she didn't like a call and went ballistic. But then I thought afterwards, and I said, to actually take a game away in a major is quite an extraordinary thing to do.
That's a big move.
Right? And think about, like, if our buddy Aaron Boone or Alex Cora was like just going nuts on an umpire, like if it's a World Series Game 7, would they toss him, or do you give him a little more rope and go, okay, it's World Series, fine, I'll give you a little more, but I'm not going to have to do this.
Right.
So when I actually saw the sequence, I was a little bit more sympathetic to Serena in that I don't know how many other, I've never seen actually, a chair umpire literally take a game away. Having said that, I do not disagree. I do not like this argument. I keep hearing this. People going, oh, they all coach. Well, hang on a second. Just because they all coach doesn't mean it's still not an infraction.
Still breaking the rules.
And the coach said he was doing it.
On the telecast. Look, we think that all college football teams might do a little bit of shady stuff with recruiting.
Right.
Doesn't make it not right.
Right. So I go back and I go, okay, can it be possible that they're both wrong? Or can it even be possible I think Serena is still wrong? I still do not support her stance. I still don't think that behavior was accurate. But I will concede the chair umpire was a little bit quick. And in a major, that's awfully tough to take a game away. But the coach admitted he was coaching. She did slam her racket, and she did abuse him. And by the way, calling the guy a thief, and like, you're never going to umpire again? Like, and you know I adore Federer. I'm going to get all these tweets. Oh, you love Federer. Federer might bark. Federer will snarl a little bit. Like, he'll give it a little bit. But he would never be like, hey, I got 4 kids. What are we doing here? I still don't understand, and I hope, well, I know people are going to tweet me, but I hope people can explain to me why there's such an outpouring of support for Serena. Will Cain did a great talk yesterday, and I tweeted it. Check out Will's show. He's on after us 3 to 6. And he said the most embarrassing part of it was this. The media applauding Serena
in the press conference. That is what I couldn't, I was trying to wrap my head around all of this the morning after. Because as you said, I'm heavy into college football on Saturdays.
Right.
And so we get in the first 8 minutes of our SportsCenter rundown on a Sunday morning, the first NFL Sunday, mind you,
right.
And a busy day in college football, we're talking about Serena. It's like, what? Like, let's really dive into this and peel this back.
Right.
I've taken it now, it's Wednesday, and this happened on Saturday.
Yeah.
That just shows you the level, one, of star power that Serena has.
Yes.
Because here we are on a Wednesday. There was a story that came out that officials were thinking about striking or forming a union because when Serena's out there, because of how they've been treated in the past, it shows how much power this individual has over the sport.
Right.
I do think, and I've said this and I'll stay consistent with it, there were 2 wrongs in here.
Mm-hmm.
To your point, the official perhaps overreacting in the magnitude of the moment.
Sure.
But so did she.
And she's a poor sport. She's had a history of this.
And I just don't understand why we can't have a level-headed conversation amongst all of us about this without taking sides. Because ultimately, people are going to have a hard-line stance on this. Mm-hmm. And it's a hard-line stance. But you can sit here and legitimately look at this and say, well, that guy probably got too power drunk with his position, and she did not act like a professional.
Correct.
Now, all athletes get fired up. We see it all the time. Mm-hmm. But my biggest problem with this at the end of the day is this young woman who beat her, who grew up idolizing her,
played the match of her life,
was getting booed because they thought Serena had something taken away from her when, in fact, Serena was never even in this match.
And that's my biggest issue. Someone said to me, well, if they don't take that game away, and I go, no, hang on a second. She lost. She was getting routed, okay? She got smoked in that first set. No, but if she won the second set, she would have won. No, let's not play hypotheticals here. She was getting beat bad, and she was a poor sport about it, and she lost her mind. And I agree with you. She's hyper-competitive. And this is not to denigrate everything else in her career.
No.
She is an African-American female who has scaled heights that nobody thought was possible. Her dad should be lionized for his effort in molding her. She's an incredible player, probably the greatest female tennis player of all time. Although, shout out to Martina. Great with the doubles as well. Everyone always says Serena unequivocally is the best. I'm like, check out Martina Navratilova, singles and doubles. But anyways, Serena is arguably the best female tennis player of all time. So, all of that being said, Maddie, you can love a person, you can support a person and still say that was a bad moment for them. I can't support that.
I'm a Tiger apologist.
Sure.
Tiger Woods, to me, in the pantheon of my favorite athletes of all time, he's top 2, maybe top 3. But I'm not going to sit here.
Who was the other one, by the way?
What's that?
I want to know who the other 2.
Let me think about that.
Okay,
I'm not willing to give him number 1 yet. I'm not willing to give him number 1. Okay. Maybe Jake Plummer.
Okay, Jake Plummer. Arizona. I'm like, it's really somewhere there. I'm like,
now, Charles Barkley with the Suns. One of my favorite.
Okay.
But if you look at some of the things Tiger does, obviously his off-the-course antics noted back when he collapsed in his personal life.
Yeah.
But he sometimes acts out on the golf course, and I don't defend him.
Yeah.
There's sometimes where he acts like a baby. I don't defend him. There's sometimes he throws his clubs. I don't defend him. Right. It is okay for us, for fans, for people in the media to take a look at someone that is idolized in their particular sport. It is okay to critique them. And it doesn't take away anything that she's done, and it doesn't take anything away from what she means to her sport. But the way that this thing has now built into this social media fire, it is
2 major questions for you. I know we got Stephen A. coming up.
Yeah.
Do you think she has enough juice to make sure that this guy never cheer umpires in the other match?
No, because yes.
This is now fascinating because now they're like, we're going to have a union.
Okay, but here's the deal, though. That'd be like Tom Brady saying, you know what? I don't want Ed Hockley and his biceps on my game.
Right.
It would set a precedent that I don't think any professional sport should allow, which is to say athletes can now pick and choose who officiates their matches, games, etc.
She's the biggest draw in women's tennis. If her people are telling the organizers of the U.S. Open, we feel that was sexism, we feel that was out of line. Listen, we're not telling the guy to lose his vocation. He can just umpire the matches. She cannot do ours. You think they'd go, hey, tough luck, this is how we do it?
I think so. Because in this point, what do they say?
What's she going to do, not play?
What do they say in sports? The tape never lies. Tape doesn't lie. So if there's tape of this official now, pre, post this incident, and the tape shows that he does this with everyone, then it's not just a Serena issue. And so I think they'll say, tough luck. That's the way it goes.
Now, I'm not playing then.
Then they're in trouble because now the U.S. Open has taken away the sport's biggest and brightest star.
Right, and they're going to go, you really want to have happen again what happened a year ago? Are you kidding? Even if it's a third-round match, like, no, he cannot be the champion again. You got plenty of these guys.
I can't remember the last time, and I'm one of those people that think this is great for the sport. Right. I think it's great for the sport because
we're talking about it here
on a Wednesday, and I'm on the first Sports Center of the day on NFL Sunday. 8 minutes, Hannah Storm on Serena. It's amazing. Stephen A. Smith, this is the Stephen A. Smith Show. Matt Barrie, Adnan Virk in for Stephen A., who joins us now. Stephen A., we could talk Serena with you. We could talk Pittsburgh Steelers with you. What do you want to talk about? It's your program.
Well, first of all, thank you guys for filling in for me. I'm sorry I couldn't be there today, but with the hurricane coming in the south and the cancellation of flights, just needed to let my listeners know that because I have to be in Vegas for the rest of the week, the company said, get you behind to Vegas, come hella high water. So I couldn't take any chances, and that's why I'm not doing a radio show today. So I thank you guys for filling in for me.
Our pleasure.
Listen, it's real popular, particularly in the Me Too movement and what have you, for people to jump on a bandwagon of her being mistreated because she was a woman and what have you. And Serena is an iconic figure. As far as I'm concerned, the GOAT. She's the greatest. She's an incredible role model for African Americans everywhere with what she's accomplished in her career. I just think that her argument in this particular instance was misplaced. I think when you look at the official, the umpire, Carlos Ramos, when you consider the fact that Andy Murray complained about him during the Olympics for similar things, when Djokovic complained about him during the French Open in 2017, along with Rafael Nadal, when there were complaints about him in Wimbledon in this year alone, there have been a plethora of situations where his behavior, whether it be truculent, a bit quick with the trigger per se, a bit, insensitive and what have you, it clearly is not a gender thing with him. It clearly is a situation where whatever you want to call him, he's been that way across the board, no matter who it is. Sometimes he's a little more tolerant than others, but clearly it has nothing to do with gender because there have been plenty of men who have complained about him themselves. And so when you make the argument about sexism and you have people jumping on that, that has to count. There has to be a strong level of validity to it. And in this particular instance with Serena, there wasn't. And that's the way I look at it.
Stephen, in terms of the fallout of it, what do you think ends up happening? Because now the chair umpires are so upset. They're saying, listen, this is mistreatment of abuse of officials. This has gone on for too long. Maybe some in Serena's camp will say that he shouldn't be a chair umpire ever for her again. What ramifications do you think end up happening because of this?
Well, she got fined. And I think that, they didn't feel the fine was stiff enough. They felt that he's been thrown under the bus. But what the officials for the U.S. Tennis Association are missing in all of this, he's been thrown under the bus by the public at large because of their love and affection for Serena and the deference and respect they believe she has earned, which is true, and that he did not accord her, which is true. The flip side to it is that the world of tennis itself has not excoriated him. They pointed the finger at Serena as well. She was the one that was fined, not him. He's not in danger of losing his job or anything. So why are they complaining about it? You can't control how the public feels. The public is going to feel the way that they feel, but that doesn't have anything to do with the Tennis Association. They haven't exacted any kind of punishment against him. So I think they're just whistling into the wind. I don't think anything comes of this. I think that the person that was damaged the most by this was Serena. Because Serena, despite all that she's been through, and how heroic and courageous and just incredible she has been throughout her career, she came across as a bit too emotional and a bit too childish in how she conducted herself with him, calling him a thief, accusing him of stealing from her, slamming her racket when she knows the rules mandate that he can cite her for a penalty because of slamming her racket. All of these things are things she knew coming into it. And really what's most incriminating is the fact that even though it happens all the time, it is a rule that you cannot coach from the box. And her coach admitted he was coaching from the box. And it was something he had warned Venus about in the past, her sister. So maybe he didn't have to give her a penalty. He didn't have to take a point away from her on one occasion and a game from her the other without a warning. There's no question about that. But unfortunately, he was operating within the rules. It is undeniable that that was the case. She knew that, and therefore she had an obligation to at least stop baiting him as much as she did and stop going off as strongly as she did, not to mention the fact that it ultimately stole an incredibly joyous moment from Naomi Osaka, because this 20-year-old is special. She's going to be around a long time. She is incredibly gifted. She wanted Serena. She said she wanted Serena. She got her, and she waxed her. And there is no way around that.
Stephen A. Smith with us on his way to the airport, flying to Vegas for Canelo Triple G out there this weekend. Stephen A., let's talk about the fight for a second, because typically when you look at a fight like this, there's going to be all kinds of hype surrounding it, but because of what happened in the past and it had to be postponed, are the fans being cheated from this fight because of when it is in the heart of the NFL and college football season?
I don't think so. It's a Saturday night. The fight's probably going to come on at about 11 o'clock Eastern time. I don't find that to be the case at all. The two favorite months for boxing are May, Cinco de Mayo, and September. That is the reality. And so when you look at it from that standpoint and you look at how late the fights start, and the fact that most of the college football games are set and NFL Sunday has not arrived yet, I don't think the fans are being cheated at all, not to mention the fact that despite the despicable score by, I believe it was Adelaide Bird, if I remember correctly, who scored it for Canelo, 118-110 in the first fight, which was utterly ridiculous. She should be banned from judging after that one. It was an incredible fight the first go-round. Both of them swing haymakers. Both of them have power, knockout power. Both of them came to fight. They delivered on what they were marketed to deliver. And I don't have any doubt that they're going to do the same in the sequel. So I don't look at the fans as being cheated at all. This is the mega fight in the sport of boxing at this particular moment in time. It would have been nice had they fought again in May, if Canelo didn't test positive for bad meat in Mexico, but in clenbuterol or whatever it was. But the fact that it's taking place in September, almost a year to the day that the first fight took place, I see no problem with it whatsoever. I expect a thriller, and I expect it to record significant pay-per-view numbers.
Adnan Virk and Matt Barrie in for Stephen A. right now. We're talking to Stephen A. Smith on his radio show, ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Stephen A., watching First Take the other day. Love seeing you and our girl Molly Karam talking to one of my favorite filmmakers. Spike Lee is back. BlacKkKlansman's the best film of the year. It's been a while for Spike since he made such a great film, but I just wanted to get your thoughts. I thought it was an incredible film, and I think it's a really timely one and provocative and ferocious. Tell me about your interaction there with Spike.
I will confess, well, Spike is my man, and he and I go back a very long ways, and he was talking about this movie for quite some time, and you just knew that it was going to be special. And from start to finish, there were a couple of slow spots, but for the most part, I really, really liked the movie. I'm not the movie critic that you are, Adnan, but I love the movie. But I will tell you this. From the jump start of the movie, there was, he was providing some kind of historical perspective, and to see Alec Baldwin playing the role that he played to start off the movie, I thought was poignant. And he was giving you just a picture, trying to relate the past to the modern day era in terms of what people are feeling right now in regard to the state of our country and the times that we're living in. And I definitely deeply appreciated that. I thought that John David Washington, Denzel Washington's son, did an incredible job. I thought he was sensational in the role that he played, and all the other characters did their job as well. But it was a very poignant movie, and I'll admit, for an African-American, it was very painful to watch, simply because it reminded you of a time that we continue to try to escape from, and it also reminds you that no matter how far we've come, we still have tremendous progress that needs to be made. I think that's the message that Spike Lee was trying to send, the importance of not regressing and turning back the clock to a time that made others more comfortable than minorities. That's the kind of message that he wanted to send with this movie. I think he successfully went about the business of doing that, but I also think it serves as a red flag about what times that we're living in and what we need to be mindful of. And the progress that we've made, and how we certainly don't want to turn back the clock. And he would say he wanted to send that message, and I thought he did it.
That's perfectly expressed, because you're right. The film is provocative, ferocious, and yet it's also funny. You're right. He finds moments to offer up some levity, but that ending is as powerful as he's made in recent memory, and you're right. It's sobering as well. The great Stephen A. Smith joining us right now on his show. We know you have lots to do, Stephen A., but thanks for chipping in, man.
Appreciate you.
Hey, man. Thank y'all for filling in for me. Really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Stephen A. Smith, even he has clock integrity even when he's on the phone.
he can feel it coming.
He's like, you know what? We got to get out of here at 22. I love, by the way, the language that you get into when you're breaking down film.
It's nauseating, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it really is. Like, there was
normal, Virk.
We weren't going to talk about anything today when you were going to use the word ferocious. We weren't. But that's when Adnan goes to film critic. So
rapturous love towards BlacKkKlansman.
That's it. That's what you do, and then you put. We'll get into film, because the last film I saw was.
Just tease it. I'll just say it stars Hugh Jackman, and we'll discuss it later.
I'm not happy about it. Coming up next, how horribly has this been handled by the Pittsburgh Steelers? That and more coming up. Stephen A. Smith Show, Matt Barrie, Adnan Virk.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I should have done this years ago. Disclaimer, traveling back in time is physically impossible unless you know how to build a functioning time machine. Then by all means, travel 25 years back in time, switch your car insurance to Geico. You could save a bunch of money. While you're there, please prevent your younger self from wearing that sleeveless tuxedo t-shirt, parachute pants, and glitter high tops to your senior prom. And at long last, rectify this horrible crime against nature. Geico is absolved of all liability if you destroy the fabric of time and space.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
The whole show is going to be a surprise to Adnan Virk. Matt Barrie, Adnan in for Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Hit us up, 888-729-3776. Stephen A. Smith Show brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings, a proud sponsor of the College Game Day Tour, live this Saturday, Arlington, Texas. Ohio State takes on TCU. Come to Buffalo Wild Wings for our $5 game day deals.
Thank you for driving today. Like, this is a big thing in radio. People are very possessive. Like, I want to drive, I want to dictate the show.
Yeah.
But this is perfect for me because this is like when I would do it with Russillo. He's got his whole machinations working, and I just kind of hang out. So, like, normally we go over content ideas, but I love what we're doing. Like, I don't even know what we're doing now. You're just going to throw questions. I'm going to give
I'm going to throw them all at you.
And by the way, I get fined. I called Nuno Vito. So
I was going to throw you under the bus for that.
So there's going to be a fine system. Him and Kat can come up with whatever they want, but that's...
Here's what you've got your hands and your tentacles in so many things here at ESPN. Like, he just starts mispronouncing people's names. Like, didn't even know who they are.
That's awful. And I'm normally pretty good with names. How are you with names? I'm pretty good. Ask Kat.
You are good at
names. Pretty good. Like, yeah.
No one Virks a room like Adnan.
I walk in like, Devin, Kat, how we doing? Like, I'm like, right away.
When I first started here at ESPN, it was March of 2013. And, you walk into a room and you're immediately getting judged by people. Like, that's what happens here at ESPN. You walk in and other on-air people are judging you. Right. So I walk into the newsroom at the time, and Adnan's still doing SportsCenter. This is back in 2013. And he's being nice, but I know he's judging me. I can just tell. And I saw through it right away. Like, you were nice, but I'm like, this guy's
sizing you up.
Sizing me up.
Can I take this guy in the ring?
And so then...
How good is he on a SOT full call?
Right, yeah. How does he read a full screen viz? Can he do it? Where's he from? So then the longer that I'd been here at ESPN, then Adnan and I have desks next to each other. Yeah. So then I started watching Adnan work a room. And I've never seen anything like it. I legitimately have never seen anything. It's something to behold.
There's two keys here. One, learn people's names.
Which I'm awful at.
And two, always ask them about stuff they're interested in.
For instance.
So, for instance, with you, I'm like, we're just going to talk golf. We're going to talk college football.
And you've got me.
Talk about, exactly. Just stuff that you're into. Yeah. Arizona, whatever. Dallas, stuff that you've been. Right. Mike Peasley, like whatever.
Yeah, Peasley Stones.
Like, find things tangentially that you know.
Right.
That will work with that person.
So do you have biographical content? Because you strike me
cards on every person. Like, all right,
you
Cassidy,
strike me as a guy. You're like, all right,
yeah.
I'm going to meet with X person today. And now what I'm going to do is the private investigator that I keep on retainer is going to give me information. And then I am going to then take this information that I've called about this person and then use it.
I wouldn't say it would be nefarious, but there's an element to, hey, just know a couple things about the person. When I first interviewed here, Lori Orlando used to run the talent office. Yeah. And like just a Google search, she'd worked at MSG. And so very early on, I was like, listen, I'm sure you know Knicks, Rangers, being at MSG. And she's like, oh, you know, I worked at MSG. And she's like, oh, you did your homework. And I'm like, well, this seems like a pretty simple one. Like Latrell
Sprewell, thoughts. You know?
Right. Mike Richter in that, you know what that's like? 94, Game 7.
Mark Messier, one of the best.
Right. And in my head, like, the way she seems so taken aback, I go, isn't that like interviewing 101? Just Google the person.
Know your subject.
Matt Barrie.
Is that why you have the envelope of, is that your Tom Berenger packet?
This is incredible what I have here.
All right.
I got this. So I get stuff sent to me now with Cinephile.
Yeah.
By the way, check out Maddie and the Caddy as well for great podcast. And so normally it's like I get movies sent to me. Like I get screeners now because like this guy's a big deal. Like I've been to the Oscars last 2 years, Emmy nominated, won an Emmy a year ago. It's great. Shout out to Ben Lyons who made it all happen.
Wait, you won an Emmy?
We won an Emmy. I'll get you the exact wording of it because it's like best interactive media within a live non-programmed event. So it sounds a little sketch, but Creative Arts Emmy, it's an Emmy. And I have a pamphlet.
Oh, good. Well,
excuse me. Maybe a plaque is the better word.
Pamphlets,
So I get this, and I go, oh my god, I got more movies.
He's holding it up for the camera for those.
Okay, what's this from?
Radio
Studio. I'm like, where's this from? Okay, it's just something. It's from Baltimore. Okay, Baltimore's production companies.
Looks like a 3-year-old wrote it.
And instead, Mr. Virk, I've included the first act of a screenplay titled American Lowlife.
Oh.
I've worked on the 164 pages of the final script for some time. He gives the whole plot synopsis. My hope is that yourself and ESPN Films is willing to help make a movie like American Lowlife. He thinks like I'm green-lighting projects.
The title
I'm going to call Connor Shell. Hey, OJ was great. We got a new movie.
The title is gripping. Let me have a look at
American
this.
Lowlife, yeah.
American Lowlife. So this is an actual screenplay.
It looks pretty screenplay. Will Cain, by the way, is making a cameo. I said this earlier, Will. Terrific job you did on Serena. It was excellent. Excellent
See,
job.
here he goes.
Can he talk?
Here we go. Yeah, no,
we mimicked it a bit this morning, but literally, listen to Will Cain.
It doesn't matter.
Follow Will on Twitter. It was excellent. You cannot top what he said. It was excellent.
Well, I appreciate that. The truth of the matter, I was walking through the hallways, and I saw you two together, and I'm like, I think these two are good. And so I came in here to listen for a moment. I'm like, are these guys good for two reasons? One, I'm impressed. Second, I'm going to go to Justin and say this can't happen because this is threatening.
Oh,
like, you two are good enough.
What a good guy Will Cain is. That's awesome, man. We appreciate that. Seriously, not many, more on Will here, because not many people, I told the story. Will, what I said on the air was, and all I saw was the meltdown. What I said on the air was, at the halftime tease at Clemson A&M, I said, Serena loses her mind and then loses the match.
I heard about this.
And I'm getting bombarded by people who are just furious with me, who are like, how could you say that? That's so insensitive. Did you see what the judge did? Like, she was being aggrieved. And I'm like, she lost her mind. And then on the highlight, I said, she had a meltdown. Like, it's not a meltdown. She was completely justified. I go, I don't understand. What did I do wrong? So I had to go back and see it. And your commentary was excellent, which is that, did the guy have a quick hook? Okay, I didn't realize maybe a quick hook. But I still, going back in time, Will, I'm like, how else could I have phrased that? We're trying to sell people to watch the show. The best thing I could say is, Serena lost her mind.
No, I think you phrased it perfectly. She lost her mind. I'll tell you this. I was sitting on my phone, and I was scrolling, and it pops up. You know, when so-and-so mentioned you on Twitter, and it says, Adnan Virk mentioned you on Twitter. And I'm so paranoid, and I'm so, like, triggered at this point by everybody. I'm like, oh no. I thought for sure Adnan hated my take, and he was coming to tell me how awful it was, and I clicked through. I was like, oh, I don't want to fight with Adnan. And then it said, preach. You got it right. And I'm like, get out of town.
Well, look, you can't have ESPN on ESPN crime.
We can't do that.
You can't, because Virk would have been...
So the best part is Will at the end was saying, he goes, listen, she's the greatest female tennis player of all time. She's arguably the greatest tennis player of all time. So of course I had to write back to Will, well, listen, you lost me there. And he's like, for the record, I said she's a case. I go, no, I understand that. You can't even say she's a case. That's how unabashed my love for Federer is. I don't even want people to mention that there's even the stratosphere.
Yeah, but you're right. No, objectively, you're right. It's not just love. Federer is the greatest of all time.
Federer is the greatest of all time.
All right, I'm out.
All right.
What Tease the show. 3 to 6. What do we got today? Tease the show.
I don't know. We just came out of the meeting. We'll probably talk some Cowboys.
Oh, good. Yeah, that'll be good.
Cowboys should avoid an 0-2 start. No NFC East team has started 0-2 in the last 10 years, has made the playoffs. Will Cain, why the Cowboys will win.
They will. They will. It's the Giants, please.
Giants are brutal.
Better tease than what he did. Cowboys get more run on Will Cain show than they did the first week of the season.
How about, I'm with Greeny on Get Up, and he's going, the Giants, watch it. I go, are you kidding? He goes, they got Saquon. I'm like, I understand that. He goes, do they have an offensive line?
No, Cowboys are bad.
Like, brutal.
Cowboys are bad. And I traveled with that team for 5 seasons.
I want to get
inner workings. Of that
right,
thing.
You can tell Cowboys for days.
A couple things real quick. First, I think that should we read a couple of stanzas of this throughout the show?
Oh God! Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. Oh, the screenplay,
American Low Life of the screenplay. So we've got
Nuno is checked out. He's literally on the phone. He left the building for a while. There's 2 different producers here. They could not care less.
He's lining us up, Dak Prescott.
Different stanzas.
Yeah. So
Rex McQueen is the hero of American Low Life. A man who returns to praise by most in his hometown, yet it is the people closest to him that want to see him bleed.
Oh, see? I mean, why not?
A24 Films. Let's lock it up right now.
Yeah, someone get us Connor, his extension. We're making this happen. Coming up next, at some point, we will get to Le'Veon Bell. At some point.
Okay, I don't know.
Because I think it's one of the dumbest moves an organization's ever made.
Love it.
That coming up next. But first, football season finally underway. And if you play fantasy football, odds are you probably already hate your team and wish you could draft again. Well, with FanDuel, you can draft a new team every week. They have a tool called Guru to help you pick your lineup so you can make smarter picks and feel more confident going into game day. FanDuel has made it easy to find your friends and challenge them to play head-to-head contests for cash and bragging rights. New users get a $20 bonus when they make their first deposit on FanDuel. Come play with me at FanDuel.com/Stephen A. Adnan and Matt Barrie in for Stephen A. We will talk screenplays and eventually Le'Veon Bell. That coming up next, Stephen A. Smith Show.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
One of those guests, Paul Finerbaum, coming up top of the hour, ESPN Radio, Stephen A. Smith Show. Matt Barrie, Adnan Virk in for Stephen A. Stephen A. Smith Show brought to you by Pennzoil Synthetics, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level, making the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. And nothing makes up for your football season obsession like a surprise from 1-800-Flowers.com to order a dozen multicolored roses, plus an extra bouquet and a vase for just $29.99. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. Adnan in the booster seat, Matt at normal height.
Literally the question we get asked by Nuno, who now we know as Vito, who said, can you raise your chair a little bit? Like, literally, I've been in television now for 20 years. Yeah. I've been on air for 16 years. Yeah. Every single day, can you raise your chair? Like, here's an idea. Like, just get me a high chair, and then there's no issue. Like, wherever I go, just Adnan's chair, he needs a bib, he needs a high chair. He drools at times, and this way there will not be an issue. Literally, there are times Joey Galloway gets so incensed. He goes, well, how high can Adnan's chair go? He goes, Jesse Palmer is 6'2", and he played professional football. I don't think the audience needs to have them at the same height.
Here's what I want to know, though, but why I've never understood why it matters so much. The chair height thing for the TV, for the directors.
Preach. I've never understood either.
I mean, I'm 5'10".
Right.
I'm an average height guy.
Right.
And you are.
But short. Yeah.
But like,
I am a short man.
I mean, but see, they care so much about the height thing.
This 3-inch height differential is completely killing the show.
So where's that when you're standing next to Jesse Palmer at a touchscreen?
Well,
you're not in a box then, are you?
I should say, no, I'm not. But I should point out for aspiring broadcasters, I always thought, I don't know about you, but I thought I'd be behind a desk my whole life. I'm going to get fat. It doesn't matter because I'm going to be behind a desk. It's okay. Especially lower half, I get fat. But no, I don't care. I would be like a pear. And then I'm like, wait, something happened in television. All of a sudden, they want us to stand. And I'm like, wait, all the time now on TV, you're always standing. I go, no, I don't like this at all. I'm short. And I'm not in the great shape. So now I'm sitting next to these guys who are professional athletes.
Right.
So you're getting killed. You're going, wait, I've never been in really good shape. And now I'm next to Palmer, who's the bachelor. I'm next to Galloway, who has 4% body fat. I'm like, this sucks.
Well, they used to stand me in Sports Center. I'd stand up next to Antonio Davis.
Oh.
I'm like, what are we doing? The guy's 7 feet tall.
Right. So on the one hand,
I'm looking at his navel.
On the one hand, it's critical that we're at the same length while sitting.
Sure.
And yet we have no issue standing, and all of a sudden there's like a 1.5 disparity. We would do baseball tonight standing. I go, we can't do this. Me and Ravi are the same height. We're both 5'7".
Yeah, but throw Kirchen in there and you're good.
Kirchen helps
the tall
everything.
guy.
Like Kirchen, 5'4.5", like we're good. But like Mulder was 6'5", Sut's 6'6", Eddie Perez is 6'5". Oh, this is brutal. People are going, forget about whether or not the Orioles are going to set the record for the most losses. How short are those guys and how gigantic is those guys?
Are you the on-air guy that asks for certain things?
Meaning like milk duds?
No, more Skittles, more of a Skittles. He's striking more of a Skittles guy. Milk duds, disgusting.
No, they're awesome.
Are they really?
I love them.
No.
On baseball, we're always just grabbing milk duds.
Milk duds. What's in the middle of that? Is that nougat?
Nougat, and it gets stuck in your teeth, and it's like, it had a cavity, like it's brutal.
Reese's Pieces.
Pretty strong.
I'm like E.T.
Even better is Reese's Puffs. Like the cereal is amazing.
It's been a minute since I had cereal.
You know, it's high sugar.
Yeah, I'm not a big high sugar. I save my sugar for,
You just go egg whites, avocado.
No. Greek yogurt.
But your diet's excellent. You're in good shape.
I try to stay in good shape.
Work out 5 days a week.
No. 3.5.
Oh, so you just diet then. Like, good for you. So you stay
watch
lean
what
by
I
dieting.
eat, run a little bit.
Okay.
You know, but the thing that I won't take out of the diet, I like to have a drink or two.
Yeah. A little bubbly.
Yeah, like during football season.
Oh, so that's
like when someone says cut out the alcohol, no.
Right. I'm feeling good. I'm going to feel even better.
Right. Like if I've got to work on 3 hours sleep, I'm going to imbibe at 1 p.m.
Yeah. Good use of imbibe.
Right before that SEC game on Saturdays, I'm a Bloody Mary and beer in.
But you don't strike me as a heavy drinker. I think
No. I'm not like Nick Cage and leaving Las Vegas.
Right. Like, you have a problem here right now.
No.
Like, oh my God.
I mean,
Barry's falling down all over the place. What's wrong with this guy?
No, it's a football season cocktail.
Right. So I think that's not a big issue.
What about you? Like, are you a port wine guy? What do you do?
No, my thing is you've got to have at least one vice. So of the vices of, cigarettes, alcohol, hard drugs, I'll just go with sugar.
Gambling's not a vice?
Gambling, I don't touch gambling. Which someone said to me, you should pick it up. And I said, why? I don't need it.
Gentlemen's clubs, is that a vice?
Maybe once upon a time. No, I'm kidding. No. I think gentlemen's clubs, by the way, this is another topic which we'll get into, but overrated, underrated, or properly rated?
Overrated.
I would think the answer, by the way, is either overrated or properly rated. It's never underrated.
Right, but every group has a guy that they get mail there.
And when you're 24, everybody knows that guy.
Will we talk Le'Veon Bell? TBD.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Have you ever looked at your credit card statement and been shocked by the interest rate? Did you know you could actually roll all of your credit card debt into one monthly payment at a lower fixed interest rate? Lightstream offers credit card consolidation loans from 5.89% APR with auto pay. Lower the average credit card interest rate of over 18% APR. Get a loan from $5,000 to $100,000, and you can even get your funds as soon as the day you apply. Lightstream believes that people with good credit deserve a great interest rate and no fees. Fun fact, Lightstream plants a tree with every loan they fund. My listeners will get a special discount on top of Lightstream's already low rates. The only way to get this discount is to go to lightstream.com/Smith. Lightstream, lightstream.com/Smith. Subject to credit approval. Rate includes 0.50% auto pay discount. Terms and conditions apply, and offers are subject to change without notice. So visit lightstream.com/Smith for more information. Listen up, people. We have a big favor to ask you, and we promise it won't take up too much of your time. You know, our show is supported by some fantastic sponsors, right? Well, we'd love to hear your feedback. Head to podcast.study and fill out a short anonymous survey. That's it. We swear. Again, that's podcast.study.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A.
Hey, Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News, brought to you by Discover Card. We treat you like you'd treat you, which is why we think annual fees are ridiculous. We bet you do too. See all the ways Discover's looking out for you. Go to discover.com or give us a call, 1-800-DISCOVER. Adnan Virk, Matt Barrie in for Stephen A., who is on his way to Las Vegas to cover the fights for ESPN. Joining us now, a man who is synonymous with just college football greatness, also favorably compared to Burt Reynolds, as we did last weekend on SportsCenter, the great Paul Finerbaum. Hello, Paul.
Hello, gentlemen. Good afternoon. And you too, Adnan.
Paul, it's always a pleasure to speak to you. I'm already raising my eyebrow. Are you a big Smokey and the Bandit fan? Where does the Burt Reynolds comparison come in?
I think it was just thinking that, remember when Burt was young, he was considered the sexiest man in America. So I think that's what Matt must have been thinking of.
Gotcha.
We did a Burt Reynolds tribute last Saturday on SportsCenter, and they put it right before our Paul Finerbaum segment. Natural segue into business.
But Adnan, I'm more favorably compared to Marlon Brando than Burt Reynolds.
Hey,
you mean the greatest actor of all time, Paul? That's who you're more like?
You're about to trigger Adnan.
Listen, they're remaking every TV show. Now that Paul is truly Burt Reynolds, Evening Shade 2 is coming back. That's all
I could have been somebody.
I could have been a contender.
If they remake Family Ties, I'm out on TV for good.
That's you.
Hey, Paul, LSU Auburn this weekend, really the first time each of these teams has a contest aside from what they had week one. This is at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Look, Joe Burrow's the guy that had a good week one against Miami. What do you expect to see out of Burrow week two?
I think it'll be much tougher. Matt, you follow college football as closely as anyone, and this Auburn defensive line and this Auburn defense coached by Kevin Steele is upper echelon, unlike Miami, and I think he will struggle, especially in that environment. One thing about this game that I think is interesting, though, the winner stands alone in terms of college football teams with two quality wins. I mean, both already have a good one, and this would be a great one.
You look at LSU right now, Paul, and it's I feel like until that game in Alabama, literally they could beat every team. They could pummel them by double digits. But until they beat Bama, I will not get on that wagon. Where are you when it comes to feeling like LSU is a legit top team?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not there, and I don't want to be dismissive because, I think everyone is pulling for Ed Orgeron. I mean, he's the guy that no one thought had a chance, so he beats Miami, and suddenly we're giving him credit. Now, had he lost to Miami, this may have been Waterloo for him. Just check back 2 years ago this weekend to what happened to Lester Miles, the now very famous commercial pitchman. But better career there than here. But this loss for LSU is not going to do them in. But they do have an arduous schedule. They go to Florida. Well, take that back. They go to Florida. But they have Georgia at home. They have the Tide. They have Mississippi State. They the losses could start stacking up pretty quickly if they don't get this win, which I don't think they will.
Hey, Paul, stay there with Florida, because after the first week, Dan Mullen, the Gators hung a ton of points in a week one beatdown against a lesser opponent, and then they go and do something that hadn't been done since 1989, I believe was the number, since Florida had lost to Kentucky. How quickly now have things changed in Gainesville for Dan Mullen and the Gators?
First time they've lost in Gainesville since '79. First time overall since the mid '80s when Family Ties was a big hit on Thursday night. Right before I think right before or after Cosby. I can't remember which one.
It was a lead-in, I believe.
Yeah, it was a lead-in to Cosby.
Yeah.
No, Cosby's lead-in. Excuse me. Then Family Ties, and don't forget Night Court was part of that juggernaut.
You're right.
Yeah.
Bull from Night Court.
Yeah, I was probably watching DVR reruns of Barney Miller at that point. But was there a question somewhere before we got into TV trivia? I can't remember.
Dan Mullen.
Oh, Dan Mullen.
Where do you rank Harry Anderson among the great judges of all time?
Right after
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Right after the lady on Fox on Saturday night, Judge Judy. Pereira, whatever her name is. I always get lost with that, and Matt. That's one reason he's never asked me to be on. So Dan Mullen was the question. The answer is that was an embarrassing loss of epic proportion, and again, same thing you could say about everyone. That should have been an easy win, and now the schedule and everything gets much tougher. And I think Florida fans believe Dan Mullen's back, the urban disciple Tebow's back. We are going to start winning again. And in fact, I was with Tebow Saturday. And he was almost sensing the same thing, but that program is not that great. And Florida fans, which occasionally think they are Alabama in disguise, may be in for a sobering experience.
Underwhelming, to say the least. Not Paul Finerbaum, who's bringing the heat, but Florida State. How about our man, Willie Taggart? Paul, I thought, I'm laughing at how stupid I am. I thought the Seminoles might be the team to challenge Clemson in the ACC, because I thought Miami fell back a step, and that loss against LSU proved that to me. And I said, all right, here come the Seminoles. DeAndre Francois, a little excitement. And I watched that 24-3 loss to Virginia Tech. I know Bud Foster's a defensive mastermind, but Samford, for God's sakes, took them 115 minutes, Paul, before they got a lead.
I mean, Samford is a small college in Birmingham, Alabama that Bobby Bowden went to, that Terry Bowden coached. This is not. This is not a bowl eligible program here in terms of a Final Four appearance, and they came pretty close to winning the game. And Florida State fans have to really be wondering. And I've been asked already today. You're up here, you make the rounds, as you guys know, and who's on the hot seat. Coaches that have been there two games are on the hot seat. Willie Taggart is a guy that better straighten this out, because you just don't want to start off with a disastrous season. It's convenient to blame the guy before, and we all know in Tallahassee, FSU fans would like to blame everything, including natural disasters, on Jimbo Fisher, but you just can't do it. Willie Taggart is the coach right now.
Speaking of coaching debuts, we had to wait a week for Scott Frost at Nebraska. They had the thriller against Colorado. I thought there were a number of calls that Scott Frost got wrong late in that game. Of the debuts, I know we're heading into week 3, and there's some other games that I want to talk about, but of the guys that debuted now, since they've all done it, which to you was the most underwhelming, Paul?
That would be Kevin Sumlin, because I really expected more. He's got the quarterback, as you know, guys, and you just expected him to, beat BYU, and last week was a little more difficult, but they just look so bad. Chip Kelly, I'm going to give a little bit more of a pass to, not because he's done a good job, but because as a former ESPN client, you get 4 mulligans. So, but Tom Herman has been underwhelming too, and not to get on him. But what if Tom Herman loses this weekend to SC? That's not exactly a quality loss after SC's woeful performance against Stanford. Suddenly, this is the guy who has lost to Maryland twice, and if he loses this game, and on top of that, he's losing in recruiting to Jimbo Fisher in state.
Talking right now with Paul Finerbaum right now on the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio, ESPN News, Adnan Virk and Matt Barrie in. Speaking of coaches after good starts, Kevin Sumlin, Khalil Tate. What happened to all that Heisman talk there, Paul? That guy can't throw the ball.
No, Khalil Tate and Bryce Love are both fading from any list. But Adnan, as you do the Friday night show, you do the Saturday night show. You guys do a lot of useless information, things like who's in the Heisman race.
Appreciate that.
After what? Well, I see your show at 5 a.m. And I asked Jesse Palmer Sunday, is that the same show that was on live? He said, I have no idea. I'm not awake because Galloway never stops talking. But
accurate on all accounts.
But for third time in this conversation, I feel like I'm on a game show. I'm asking you to repeat the question, but I don't really know what the answer there is, Adnan, because he's got a pretty good situation out there, but someone is an easy punching bag right now for whatever reason.
It's not a good school to coach at. I don't know what you want me to say. Not a great place to coach.
ASU better than Arizona.
But Herm Edwards, 2-0, ranked on the road, San Diego State. Hey, Paul, last year, UCF, the self-proclaimed national champions, they were the group of 5 team that was telling anybody who would listen that they belonged at the playoff. Boise State has that opportunity this week in Stillwater against Oklahoma State. Is there enough for Boise State to kind of raise their flag as, hey, we're going to be the outsider this year that makes a mess for everybody?
I don't want to be an elitist because I'm not. I'm just Joe Schmo like you guys are, but they're not going to be able to make that claim. Boise had its window back 10, 11 in the day, but I just don't think beating Oklahoma State is going to quite do it for me. I mean, with all due respect, what's Oklahoma State? I mean, how many big time events have they choked away in recent years, like last year?
Yeah, I suppose that's a fair point. It's just interesting in the Big 12 overall, Paul. I saw
a pause there, Adnan.
No, I was just thinking for a second.
Do you have Mike Gundy in your fantasy coach league?
Yeah, that was odd, right? It was like you just said something so offensive to him.
I just love Mason Rudolph so much.
Okay.
It's such an attachment to the team. But the Big 12,
he's not there anymore.
You and Mike Gundy like movie buddies or something?
I'm a Josh Fields guy back there.
But I look at the Big 12, Paul, I just feel like literally it's Oklahoma and everybody else.
Yeah.
Like there's no, I feel awful saying this, but there's no reason to even care about the rest of these teams. It's just the Sooners.
Well, TCU has at least a 3.5 hour window Saturday night to make a claim or make it worse, which I think we both, or all three of us, know which way it's going to go.
Yeah. I think it's awesome. You think it's going to be 3.5 hours. It's probably going to be 4.5 hours. Hey, Paul, did you convince them to build? Is that a Paul Finerbaum set in New York?
Okay, little known secret. This is Stephen A. Smith's studio, and I've been able to hijack it today. I'm usually on with Stephen A., and I'm fairly disappointed that I'm not.
That's been evident for the course of this interview.
I mean, when you're a guy like me who does a show in the South, the idea of sitting with Stephen A. right outside the Brooklyn Bridge is a big-time deal, as opposed to doing yet another talkback with Matt Barrie and Adnan Virk in Bristol.
Have you ever turned down an interview like maybe Paul? Like
that's a great question.
Yeah, have you done the interview and then you found out the actual host wasn't in, and either did such an embarrassing job and they knew they wouldn't ask you back again, or you just actually I'm unavailable. If the main host is not there, I'm not going to be your fill-in guy.
Well, yeah, Matt and I had a conversation privately about this the other day, which I can't reveal on the air, but you'll get a good chuckle out of it when you leave, Adnan. But I mean, it's like 3 years ago going to see Hamilton on Broadway. Ladies and gentlemen, Miranda will not be here tonight. Yeah. I mean, Joe Jones is playing. I mean, like, give me my $3,000 back that I just bought from a scalper outside.
And Paul, so we know, like, now that Coast to Coast, that SportsCenter's back, like, you're obligated to be on that now, aren't you?
Well, we haven't quite finalized the deal, but that is one of my favorite shows.
All right. Well, look, we'll pick fights for you, Paul, if you need us to.
Well, but no, I mean, listen, Matt Barrie, you gave me my start on Sunday morning.
I am. I'm his Yoda, if you will.
So there should be some money going your way then. Like Paul sends you royalties or 10%?
No, he doesn't even invite me on his radio show. Forget the money.
There's no money because I don't want to make too much out of this, but I made the mistake, Matt Barrie, of about 3 months ago listening to an Adnan Virk podcast with Richard Deitch.
Oh, no.
And I am still shaking my head over that.
You couldn't run quick enough to send me that missive of criticism.
Here's the truth. I'm
convinced Deitch and Adnan are related.
They
love each other.
I was working out. I was on a treadmill because I just can't run anymore. Too many injuries when I was a quarterback at the University of Tennessee. And I mean, I just like ran straight through a window so I could type. And by the way, it was a brilliant letter. I mean, it wasn't just like, "Hey, Adnan, way to go." I mean,
it's very well written.
It was just like like reading John Milton.
Paradise Lost.
And one more thing, Adnan. 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm watching your show. Malcolm in the Middle. Come on.
That was a good line.
That was a great line.
You know, Joey and Jesse are missing all those, Paul. So I'm glad you're paying attention.
Was it a handwritten?
No, but it was so well written. Paul, tell the Dan Quayle.
No,
that was the best
yeah.
part.
I mean, I was trying to do a riff on him trying to think he's Joe Tessitore, and I used the old, and this may outdate you because it was '88, the vice presidential debate. Lloyd Benson, Dan Quayle, and Quayle made some reference about John Kennedy, and Lloyd Benson goes, Senator Quayle, John Kennedy was a friend of mine, and you're no John Kennedy. So I said, Adnan, you're no Joe Tessitore.
It's the greatest line in an email I've ever received.
I love that Paul was so put off by how awful that podcast was with you and Deitch that he actually took the time to critique it.
Well, it's guys, as a former sports writer, it's been a long time since I've had anyone read anything I've written. So it was fun to hit the old Royal typewriter again.
Look, Paul, it's hard to come back for being fired from the student newspaper.
Well, it would be nice if at some point Matt Barrie would quit propagating that nonsense.
Look, that's a story you told on camera at your alma mater.
That was at a time when I had not quite advanced to where I am now at ESPN.
That's true.
He was just looking to make a name for himself. Now he can't be known as this libel.
He was still on the ESPN elevator trying to get from floor to floor.
And I schlepped all the way. That's a word that Matt probably doesn't understand, being from Arizona, to Knoxville, Tennessee, to do this interview that aired like 2.5 minutes on ESPN2 against Wimbledon final.
Back in the day, though, Paul, that was the best thing you'd done at the network.
That was a big deal for me.
We went and found Paul's yearbook picture.
Oh wow!
At Tennessee,
handsome man.
Oh, he was killing him.
Yeah,
I'll pull up a picture for you.
Wild one.
Hey, Paul, look forward to this weekend. Where's SEC Nation going to be?
Oxford, Mississippi.
Oh, the Grove.
The Grove.
By the way, there's some chemistry between the three of us. Maybe we ought to consider this more often.
Okay, good. You've got the connections, and maybe Adnan will have Deitch put it out on Twitter.
Yeah,
and then
of course. Richard Deitch tweets Adnan propaganda pretty much on the hour, every hour.
He did tweet me earlier today.
See, here it comes.
About this. He said that the next sports media podcast guest will be Renee Young.
Oh.
If you have any questions for her or simply want to congratulate her on continuing to top Adnan as the Score's most famous alumni, send them here.
Yeah.
He's baiting me.
Yeah, he is.
I moved on. I was on the Greenie podcast earlier, so I don't need you guys.
Oh. He has a podcast in addition to Get Up.
It's a new podcast.
Yeah. Hey, you and Tebow, take it easy at the Grove, all right? I don't want to hear any stories on Saturday morning.
Yeah, hey, so much fun, guys.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
The great Paul Finebaum joining us now. He's
It's so much more fun on radio because when we do those TV talkbacks, you know what it's like on SportsCenter or if we're doing college football, it's like boom, 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 and he's so funny.
Get in, get out.
You want to have a little fun.
You know what I love about Paul, though, and this is kind of a TV dope conversation we're about to have, is that...
Aware of the clock? Is this a Stephen A. thing again?
Clock integrity.
Yeah, clock. Yeah.
He talks in sound bites. Yeah. Producers love him because he makes his point, he moves on.
Yeah, and he's got strong opinions, right? The biggest thing in his job as a pundit is to have an opinion.
That's it.
You can never say, I'm not really sure. It's kind of like, I love him or I hate him.
And he picks I could tell you in Paul's Rolodex of coaches that Paul just kind of likes to needle a little bit.
Yeah.
I can tell you who they are. It's the same guys every single time. And I love that about it because he's not going after a smaller program. He's not going after Mike McIntyre at Colorado. He's going after Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. Or Brian Kelly at Notre Dame.
Yeah, absolutely. He's wanted Brian Kelly fired for like 3 years now.
Right. Like, I mean, someday I'm going to get with the 30 for 30 people and be like, I don't know what Brian Kelly did to Paul Finebaum.
Right.
But let's get TJ Quinn on it. And
investigative reporting.
Let's dig in on this.
Tom Crean, did a fabulous job with us here at ESPN. He's now doing a great job with George. He's going to turn around that program. Tom Crean says to me, he goes, how well do you know Finebaum? I said, I know him here and there. I never get to see him. I love his work.
Yeah.
And he said, he goes, I got to talk to Crean's brother-in-law, of course, is Jim Harbaugh.
Yes.
And he goes, I'd just love to get them to sit down sometime, like break bread. I'm like, could you imagine that meeting of the minds? You get Crean, Finerbaum Harbaugh just to serve as mediator.
Yeah, but Harbaugh wouldn't do it.
Right.
Harbaugh is very locked into what he's doing all of the time. And it's a shame. I'm as you know, a big college football guy. You are as well. It's a shame to me that Michigan just hasn't quite gotten it figured out. Because I thought when Harbaugh signed on at Michigan, we were getting Bo Schembechler, Woody Hayes again.
Yeah.
Urban versus Harbaugh, and we'd get this thing every year between those two. It has been so lopsided. And it just hasn't for what I know he's won 10 games. I know he's done a nice job putting Michigan football back on the map. But the fact that he can't, he's 1-6 against his.
Nobody's paying him for respectability. You got to win.
It's a shame to me.
And the crazy thing is this: whenever it goes Harbaugh hot seat, I'm like, are you kidding? Have you seen the contract? How many years that is? How much money that is? He's not going anywhere.
I've said it numerous times. Michigan will not, on their own accord, get rid of Jim Harbaugh.
Correct.
If Jim Harbaugh leaves Michigan, and that's a big if,
yeah,
because I think he loves it there and he loves having control of the college football. The way it's done there, you're the GM, you bring in the talent, and you make the decisions. If he ever leaves Michigan, it's because he wanted to leave Michigan.
100%.
Michigan, the Athletic, unless something goes horribly wrong off the field, they do not have a set of titleists that size to get rid of Jim Harbaugh.
That's a good line. I'm stealing that.
They just don't.
And my big thing is just the offense. You just figure, come on. Shea Patterson's there, Ole Miss quarterback, let's get it going, and obviously looked better against inferior opposition, but that loss against Notre Dame, like, hang on, are you serious?
Well, and people aren't,
Ron Haig didn't look great last year, but they had 58 rushing yards against the Irish.
But you got to put 2 and 2 together with the Harbaugh and what he was able to do. When he was on his career ascent, meaning his goal was, I think, ultimately to always get to the NFL.
Yeah.
He walked into Stanford at the perfect time with Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
The only offense you're running with Stanford and Andrew Luck is a pro-style offense.
Right.
So then what does he do? He takes that pro mentality to the pros, takes an awful 49ers team to the NFC Championship 3 consecutive years in a pro style.
Right.
You can't always come back and not adapt to where college football does
because
it starts at a lower level of high school. High school's brought in these offenses. That started to go up to the collegiate level, and he hasn't come back to that. And Shea Patterson's a great young quarterback, but you're not lining up under center and running I formation and handing the ball off with Shea Patterson. Not what he does.
Yeah. Bottom line is this. Michigan, I think, is going to be a good team, but I'm with you. I don't see them taking that next step. The team that I like in the Big Ten, and punch me in the face, because that was what happened with Appalachian State, is Penn State. I was like, you know what? I don't want to pick the Buckeyes, so I'm like, let me pick somebody else. And then I see Herbstreit did too. I'm like, all right, now I feel good about myself. Herbstreit, because I was like, I like McSorley, that they're playing Ohio State at home. So like, all right, home game is Happy Valley. Why not? And then, God, they look terrible week 1.
I just have this, I'm always one of those people that look at what was lost the year before.
Right. So the Saquon guy just go, hey,
they shot Hamilton,
right.
Great receiver. Like, I don't understand where they're going to make up this talent. I think Trace McSorley is probably one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the country.
Yeah.
But without those weapons, I think it's going to be tough. Go ahead. Haskins is a kid that people aren't talking about.
Yeah, Dwayne Haskins.
He is so good. And I love Gary Patterson. I think he's a coach that does more coaching than any coach in the country by taking some of these guys and moving them around, not getting the 5 stars that Texas and Texas A&M is, Oklahoma. I think that Gary Patterson's always up for these games. I just don't know that they have it to stop Ohio State. Ohio State, because of the off-the-field issues, aren't being talked enough about as potentially 1A when it comes to teams around the country.
Playoffs going to be, plenty of time, but playoffs going to be Bama, Clemson, Ohio State. Who's the 4th team? Notre Dame?
Wisconsin.
Yeah, the schedule. I mean, who are they going to lose to? Jonathan Taylor's
they're
an
not going to lose.
Right.
And they just have to be competitive in a Big Ten championship game. Don't forget that, look.
So 2 teams to the Big Ten you think make it?
Yeah, I think it's going to be like the SEC last year when Georgia and Alabama. Alabama didn't even win their division. They didn't even play for their conference championship last year, and they got in.
So that means Georgia won't make it.
Precedent's been set.
So Bama?
Yeah, but the East is so weak. The SEC East is weak. South Carolina's supposed to be that team.
Right.
Saw how that went.
Yeah.
ESPN Radio presented by Progressive Home Insurance. Get your quote at Progressive.com today. Adnan Virk, Matt Barrie filling in. Will we talk about Le'Veon Bell? TBD next. Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio and ESPN News.
Ricky always wanted to play baseball in the majors. He was playing catch before he could walk, practically lived in the batting cages. He was behind home plate more than he was home. And one day, after all that hard work, he found himself walking into a Major League Baseball stadium. After buying a ticket at the front gate, a nosebleed seat obscured by a pole, but he was in there. No, Ricky never did play in the big leagues, but he did switch his car insurance to Geico, proud partner of Major League Baseball, which saved him a lot. So, all in all, things were good.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Gentlemen, it's almost fall. It's time to take advantage of that cool, crisp weather. Be active, take a girl out, go to a game or concert, get tickets to something. Plus, football is here. The time to show is now to jump on those tickets. For all your ticket needs, look no further. Vivid Seats, the official ticket partner of ESPN. Go to vividseats.com, enter promo code ESPN to get 10% off your first order. Get out, go have an experience, get to the game, and use what I use, Vivid Seats. Matt Barrie, Adnan Virk in for the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts.
You've been very generous with letting me hog the mic with stuff that I'm into. I want to talk Serena. I want to talk about my nonsense. But the stuff that you're into, I'm going over your note now. We're not going to get out of here with the Eagles because that's my team and they're awesome. But you said Dak is average at best. I give you the option of one of these two topics. It's the last segment we're going to do about movies.
Yes.
That's already in the book.
Yeah.
It's in the contract. Dak is average at best, or the Steelers are at fault for Le'Veon Mess. I feel like you've got a lot on that one.
Steelers are at fault for the Le'Veon Mess.
Go ahead.
All right, so here is a guy who is the unquestioned star and best player of your team.
Antonio Brown?
Can't do as much as Le'Veon Bell.
Roethlisberger older now, so that's
older. But Le'Veon is a great running back, one of the best in the game, but he's good out of the backfield as he can catch the ball. Antonio Brown can catch the ball. He's not lining up in the backfield and running the ball.
Wide receiver more important than a running back in today's NFL?
No, because it sets the pace. Sets the pace. Sets the tone for the game. If you can run the ball, it's a threat, loosens up the coverage, Antonio Brown takes advantage.
Okay.
So you've got guys getting paid all over the league. I'm not saying that whatever it was, $14 million or whatever the franchise tender was that Le'Veon Bell signed is not good money. What I'm saying is that the Steelers needed to see his value long term and lock him up. And so he gets the franchise tender again, not happy about it. There was an opportunity for them to work something out, and they didn't. So you could argue the semantics of whether or not stuff should have been done beforehand or whether they should have been done after, neither here nor there. Where they screw up is when camp starts, they said they expect them before week 1. And then when week 1 gets here, their GM puts out this memo and this statement saying that they're disappointed that Le'Veon Bell hasn't shown up. So the boss of the team, the GM for the team, is now publicly calling out a star player that they need to be in the locker room. So that's mistake number 1.
Yeah.
Then mistake number 2, players see that GM is ticked off at Le'Veon Bell. They're naturally ticked off at Le'Veon Bell. So if GM's okay to do it, why aren't we okay to do it? So then you've got players calling out Le'Veon Bell, and then Antonio Brown comes to his defense.
Right.
But if you need this guy in your locker room to win, and he's one of the best players in the NFL, why are you publicly going after this guy for all of us to put out there?
It's an excellent question, and what's most concerning about it is, as you said, the teammates sounding off. Like I can't remember the last time I've seen a contract situation, holdout, squabble, whatever you want to say, and the players are going, you know what? We don't need that guy. Ownership's fine with this. And I'm like, are you kidding?
Right.
Like I was stunned by that. I really was. And I was like, is he not well liked by his teammates? Like, when's the last time fellow players took ownership side? That was genuinely surprising.
The other thing they typically don't do, and it's against the rules of an NFL locker room. Mm-hmm. You don't talk about someone else's wallet.
Yeah.
You just don't. And so the fact that they went there, and I just don't know how this thing's going to get resolved, in that you now have a player who's obviously sensitive to the situation.
Right.
Now being publicly called out by the organization that supposedly wants him back for this year. What's the incentive for him? He's going to make up that money with a free agent contract anyway. The thing that the GM needed to do, if he was going to call out his player, say how great he is and how valuable he is, and maybe we can work something out. Mm-hmm. But the fact that they've gone this way with him, and then now they're saying they don't need him because of what James Conner did week 1, which, by the way, he was fantastic.
Right. One game, he was great. Credit to him, absolutely. But I wouldn't be like, Le'Veon who? I'm like, are you kidding?
You've done nothing to encourage this guy to show up. And that's my problem.
More surprising situation. Adnan Virk, Matt Barrie, Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. The fact that John Gruden not even call Khalil Mack and try to broker a truce with the Raiders, or fellow Steelers teammates openly criticizing
Steelers.
Yeah.
I think it's the Steelers.
Because you can see that. It's old school coach, hey, you know what? You don't want to be here? Fine.
Because from what Gruden's saying, that was his impression. Never talked to him, never met him, couldn't get a hold of him, wanted this long-term deal.
Right.
I had to coach the guys that were here. I'm going to go with these guys. I'm going to go with the guys we want to be here. Right. But that situation, that's another odd one. I'm not...
Some thought was they were going to offer him $20 million, but it was deferred, which I get that. Guys, like, give me more money now. I don't want this deferred nonsense. And I get the Raiders part. They go, well, the portion of the cap, how's that work? But listen, dude, Khalil Mack's an animal. The Bears are like, yeah, we'll grab that.
There were so many. And you look at that draft.
He wasn't even in shape that game against the Packers. He was an animal every play.
Look at that draft class. Odell Beckham, he got his. Aaron Donald, he got his. And so Khalil Mack at the time, 2014 draft class, is sitting there saying, well, wait a second.
Right.
Raiders, these two guys got theirs. They've outperformed what they were paid as rookies. My turn.
Right.
And they just weren't willing to do it. And that's going to come back and haunt the Raiders for a long time, unless with those first 2 first-round picks, which scientifically and statistically
50%?
If that.
I'm with you. Someone goes 50-50. I go, I think it's more like 40-60.
I mean, statistically, the quarterbacks this year, the first year, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, Baker Mayfield.
And Darnold.
So 2 of the 4 and Lamar Jackson.
Right, so 2 of the 5 are going to work out and be good, if not great quarterbacks.
I mean, Sam Darnold is already getting inducted. I mean, that guy's getting
Staten Island has a statue,
that guy's
right?
getting enshrined tomorrow.
Other NFL topic, Dak is average at best. The reason that this was brought up is there was a Jerry Jones, of course, and you know this as well as anybody with your time in Dallas. He sees Dak Prescott, I can't even say it in a straight face, a hybrid of Jared Goff and Cam Newton.
Oh, Jerry.
Dak Prescott, overrated quarterback. Had a nice rookie season behind the greatest offensive line in recent memory with a great running back in Ezekiel Elliott, a great wide receiver in Des Bryant.
And a Hall of Fame tight end in Jason Witten.
Correct. Like he's fine.
And that's where I feel bad for Dak, in that when I was in Dallas, spent 5 seasons there, traveled with the Cowboys start to finish, and there was always this, what's the Tony Romo contingency plan? Right. Who's going to be after Tony Romo? Mm-hmm. And they tried forever. They drafted Stephen McGee out of Texas A&M.
Oh, yeah.
They brought in Brad Johnson to be a backup quarterback. I mean, they tried whatever they could to have a contingency plan for Tony Romo. Then they get this guy, Dak Prescott, out of Mississippi State, who, because of injuries to Kellen Moore and a couple of other players, he was just able to keep working himself up the depth chart that preseason. Mm-hmm. Looks great in preseason. Romo gets hurt. Dak's the guy, and he was able to get put into a situation where he was going to be okay because he was going to be protected, like you said, the offensive line. And I use this analogy all the time. A good running back in an offense is like fiber in your body. It keeps you balanced.
Yeah.
You know, it keeps the parts moving the way that they should. And so Zeke comes in there, benefits from the great offensive line, takes the pressure off Zach. He has a hell of a rookie season. Take out the offensive line because of injuries, take out a Hall of Fame tight end, take out Des Bryant, and now you've got teams that are daring Dak to throw because they can load up against Zeke, and if Zeke's not effective, Dak's showing what he is.
Well,
he's a nice quarterback. He's a nice quarterback. I don't think he's top. We do this all the time. All right, who's your quarterback? Is he 17-32 or is he 1-16?
No, 17.
Dak's 17-32.
No question.
And without any other offensive threats, I don't see the Cowboys winning more than 6 games.
Wow, I love that take.
I don't see him being better than 6-10.
That'd be outstanding. Wow.
And I bet David Lloyd, resident Cowboys.
Yeah, David Lloyd, obnoxious Cowboys fan.
I said
phenomenal guy. It works this way, right? If a guy's a phenomenal guy, then he's obnoxious.
Yeah.
He's an obnoxious Cowboys
But
fan.
if he's just
a phenomenal guy,
if he's just a bad dude,
if he's an obnoxious guy, he's a terrific fan of his team.
Right, yeah. He's just passionate. We were sitting doing Sports Center on a couple last week.
Yeah,
and he knows my history in Dallas. I know he's a big Cowboys fan. So I said, tell you what, let's bet a tangible bet. I'll set the over-under. I don't care what Vegas says. He's like, all right, fine. I said, over-under 6.5 wins for the Cowboys. And he hopped over it like I just offered him oceanfront property in Arizona. He's like, I'm in. 12. Oh,
wow.
They're going to win 8 or 9. I'm like, with what offense?
Yeah.
And then week 1 against the Panthers, they look like they just started figuring out what preseason football was. And Jason Garrett, that thing's not going to go well.
Yeah, it's... Nice guy, but I don't think he's got the chops. Cowboys, Giants, 2 teams who I think neither are going to be stiff in the playoffs. That's the big Sunday night game. You're like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, no, just because they're major markets and major teams, I don't think either team is particularly good.
If I gave you stock to buy, who are you buying, Giants or Cowboys?
Selling. I guess Giants.
You have to take the Giants.
Saquon, Odell,
Ingram, Odell.
But they have
those
offense,
3
right.
are as good a trio as any skill position.
I tell you, their O-line stinks. I don't really care for their defense. They're an 8-8 team.
If I'm offering you Eli Manning or Dak Prescott right now, got to take Dak.
Yeah, because Eli's 35 and over the hill.
What are they, speaking of contingency plans, what are they going to do?
Well, how about that? This was the whole thing. You talk to these Giants fans, they go, we should not have taken Saquon. I'm like, what do you mean? They go, we need to take a quarterback. There was 5 quarterbacks available. Take a quarterback because Eli's not playing forever.
Disagree.
And I just agree. I go, listen, Saquon's a game-changing, dynamic player. Yeah. And you got 2 or 3 years, and that's it. By
the way, I hate to tell these Giants fans, but Davis Webb was he's our guy.
Davis Webb. That's unbelievable. I mean, talk about an uninspiring name to say.
What was Sam Darnold going to do this year for the? Was he going to start?
No.
Saquon Barkley started and had a nice rookie game.
And I don't know about you, but Josh Allen, Wyoming, I said, listen, I get the fact he's got skills, he looks good, but that was a reach to me. He's starting for the Bills this Sunday at home against the Chargers.
Well, I mean, come on. I mean, Nathan Peterman.
Brutal. Bills Mafia, Kevin Connors.
Like, come on. I bet Orlovsky. Trot Orlovsky out to start for the Bills.
That'd be unbelievable.
I'm telling you, his numbers would be better than Nathan Peterman.
Peterman was hot trash.
Is he done? Is he done?
Peterman?
Yeah, done. Yeah. Tom Savage, done?
Yeah, I think so, too. Listen, the way quarterbacking is, I feel like everyone still has a chance, but those guys are done.
So 5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round.
Yeah.
50% says pass, fail. Give me the 50% fail in this draft class 5 years from now.
So it's going to be Josh Allen. I think Baker's good. I think Darnold's good. I think Lamar's a fail. And then who's my other quarterback? Mason Rudolph? He's a fail. He's second round. No, who was the other draft?
So you're talking Josh Rosen.
Josh Rosen. So Rosen, I guess, would be a fail.
All in on Baker?
All in on Baker.
You're all in on Baker.
I'm not as all in. Herbie said he's the next Drew Brees, which is a hell of a statement. Or maybe he sees Drew Brees when he sees him. I don't want to misquote him. But
I love Baker. I wanted the Cardinals. They weren't going to get him at 10.
Cardinals were going to do that.
Justin Daly, producer, SportsCenter producer here.
Yeah, I love JD, yeah.
He decided to text me, let me know Davis Webb wasn't on the team anymore. We know Davis Webb's not on the team.
He just texted me.
Yeah, Davis Webb not on the team anymore. He's also the guy that says rap after this.
Just let me finish.
Producer's always in your business.
Yeah, just come up, rap. No, I still have a joke to make. I still have a pithy comment. Just let me do this. You'll make it to 20 seconds elsewhere.
Right,
okay?
I'll make it up on the Viz.
Break. Exactly.
When I'm not promoting SportsCenter for the 50th time.
Right. I go very quick on full screens. I go very quick on promos.
That's my game. No one realizes it.
Right.
And you know what drives me nuts when you're anchoring with someone? Yeah. When the producer gets in your ear and they say quick on the promo and they read the entire copy.
No. Love Joe Test. Monday Night Football tonight. Catch the whole gang. Monday Night Countdown. Served up by Applebee's.
Coming up tonight after this game, SVP's got you covered. All things Week 16. More SportsCenter coming up next.
Yeah.
All right, so that's Straight Talk Wireless. Nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. If I'm sitting with the host of the Emmy-winning Cinephile podcast, is that true?
That's true.
We're going to talk film. In the last movie that I was in a theater.
See if you can guess it. Tweet us right now. Adnan ESPN, Matt Barrie ESPN.
Barrie, not the fantasy one.
Correct. And let us know. Take a guess. What's the last movie he saw in a theater? It stars Hugh Jackman. The answer next.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Adnan, do you have frequent heartburn, like the kind where you have antacid stashed everywhere in case it pops up? You know what I mean? You keep some in your bag, your desk, your car. Fix it. Listen up. There's an easy way to deal with it. Prilosec OTC, just 1 pill a day will last 24 hours with 0 heartburn. Kick your antacid habit as possible with Prilosec OTC. Use as directed 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief. Need game tickets? Find your seat. Vivid Seats, the official ticket partner. ESPN. Enter promo code ESPN at checkout. Receive 10% off your order today from Vivid Seats.
Maddie and the Caddy is the podcast. Cinephile is the podcast, where all ESPN podcasts are found on the ESPN app and on iTunes. It's time to talk movies here because it's mandatory. It's in the contract. Matt Barrie, what's the last movie you saw in theaters?
Greatest Showman.
Oh, my God. That's unbelievable.
December of 2017.
So, married man, busy man, no kids, 8.5 months, 0 movies.
0 movies.
Like the summer, you're like,
no. I watched them on flights.
Okay.
I watched a number of good film on flights.
But you didn't feel like, hey, you know what, Infinity War, I got to go see that.
No.
BlacKkKlansman, I got to go see that.
No. In fact, my wife and I went on a run of the movies in the holidays. She's got the time off from work.
Yeah.
In succession, we did Downsizing, which I'm still really angry.
Reeling from. I was so excited. Alexander Payne's the director, of course. He did Sideways and The Descendants. He's Nebraska. He's marvelously funny, very satiric. You see the trailer, Matt Damon. Oh, this is going to be very clever. And you watch the first 20 minutes, and it's amiable. And then you go, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then it gets very serious and very heavy-handed. It's about environmentalism. And you go, this movie's awful.
I was so angry.
Yeah.
Molly's Game, saw that. We went on a big December movie run.
Molly's Game, as with usual with Sorkin, great script, entertaining. Although I'm a little surprised for his directorial debut, that's the movie he wanted to make. Just a female poker player who just cheated people.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, great. Like, big ending, like, no, that's it. She just did it.
Haven't been to theater since.
There's just nothing that piques your interest.
No, because I'm not a comic book guy. I'm not into all these like superhero comic book movies.
Which I totally respect. What about the indie movies, documentaries, foreign
Love
films?
indie, love small budget.
Okay,
films.
so if I
not a big popcorn flick guy.
All right, great. So if I just start sending you stuff a little bit off the radar,
yes.
you might be into it.
When you get one of your cinephile packets, send it to me.
Okay, rather than just screenplays sent to me by Richard Hoffman in Baltimore, who for copyright
Look, he
reasons,
got some good play.
Absolutely. Are you kidding? People are like, I got to hear about this screenplay this guy wrote.
Read me a stanza.
Have you ever written a screenplay?
No.
Would you want to do?
No, I barely like writing 20-second lead-ins.
Let's go by the seat of your pants.
Did we talk about Le'Veon Bell?